Hi everyone. Um, Today I'm in sort of more of a contemplative mood. No pension, Derek. I was just thinking this morning about the time of year, and certain album covers and stuff, records and music, whatever, it evoked spring. And I thought about doing something like that. And then I got some news that a friend had, I say a friend, he was never really a friend, but someone I'd had a bit of an acquaintance with here and there died this morning. And he's an unusual character. He was a goth, even right through his life. Really into music. A really unusual character. In his early 60s in a stroke and died. But I didn't really know him very well. But everyone who met him would remember him. He's quite sort of cantankerous at times and could be quite difficult. But we did have a little bond on the music front. And I know he liked Iron Butterfly and bands like that as well. As I was looking for these pictures of landscapes to do with spring and whatnot, there was also a couple of records I pulled out. These got nothing to do with spring. I was just pulling them out. One thing leads to another, I listened to this the other day. Well, that's not true. I didn't listen to the symphony, but I did listen to the Hebrides Overture, which is the first band on here. This is Columbia. Wonderful, wonderful piece of music. I actually listened to it on this. It's another landscape here. See, a lot of classical records have landscapes, and it got me to thinking about contemplation of the season, contemplation of music, and music evoking landscape and vice versa. And this, of course, Fingal's Cave was written about the Hebrides, and it's an incredible piece of music. It's not very long, so I really recommend listening to that. This is a very rare record, but I really recommend listening to it. It's just an amazing thing, and it does, it's quite dynamic at times, but the element of the wind is the thing that kind of permeates the whole piece, and just an amazing, amazing piece of music. You don't have to have that in mind to think, the wind or whatever. It's only really something I found out about after. But just allow that music to kind of conjure something up, if you will. And sometimes music does that, doesn't it? It gets you contemplating, it gets you thinking. Anyway, I was looking for different covers, and this one, another classical record cover. This is Caspar David Friedrich, Man and Woman Contemplating the Moon. And I really like the idea of doing a video on contemplating the moon, doing some records and music about the moon. If you want to do that, that'd be fabulous. And maybe I've shot myself in the foot here, and so I can't start that thread. But yeah, it's something to think about. I love that idea, there again at this time of year. Well, in fact, all times of year, but we're more naturally going to be going out at this time of year in the evenings, and we look up into the heavens quite regularly. And when we look into the heavens and we look at the sky at night in particular, we do start contemplating. Certain music comes to mind. Now, I'm not showing any particular, there's lots of stuff here, art materials and whatnot. This is an image came to mind. Of course, it's not the moon, but it does remind you of an eclipse. And this reminds me of that guy. There are so many records that get me contemplating, or maybe just momentarily. Yesterday, yes, I know, here we go again. I listened to this, and I just sat and listened to it. This is a wonderful psychedelic folk album And it gets you, I mean, there's a song on here called Autumn's Really Here, and it's just wonderful, just the wonderful, wonderful words describing the things that happen as autumn here. As a walk in the country, Sky Rider is a great track. But it gets me kind of sort of contemplating, not just nostalgically, because yada yada, we've all done that. But it gets me contemplating what they're singing. It evokes imagery in the mind, and it gets you thinking about what it is to be a child running around in the playground, whatever it may be that comes into your head. Because every time I listen to one of those songs, it's going to be a very different response to how someone else listens to it. We will be influenced and affected, of course, by the lyrics and the song titles and whatnot, but we'll all have different memories and different things attached to those records and those different songs, which come to mind, But, which got me also, this is really loose, and I haven't pulled hardly any records off here. And really, as I say, maybe I should have done a contemplation of the moon video separately. But just a contemplation of landscape I was going to do. But this is just a kind of a blah video. I may do some of these a little bit more in the future. There was also, of course, the landscape of the mind. And when I pulled this out, it makes me think of that. It's a very, it's obviously, you would assume, very it looks like the sea and the sun and everything else, but it's a very imaginative and stylized view, if that were the case. Let me just see the title. I always put the titles on these. Can't find, well, I can see it, but it doesn't actually say. It just says where it was. The Battle of Alexandria. Now, how about that? Again, you see, imagination, the landscape of the mind, wonderful. Again, this is Wagner. I don't listen to this very often, but yeah, what can you say? That's some great music on there. It's another rare one. Did I bring any more records? Yeah, I brought one more. It just gets you thinking. It'd be wonderful to see records that you want to show, or you can talk about contemplating the landscape, contemplating the sky at night, just music that gets you thinking of that, and maybe when you look at the sky, things that maybe, music that comes to mind. I mean, that's obviously a lot of the time we associate song titles, and pieces of music are given titles which evoke something, and I think a lot of the strongest pieces of music tend to be, whether it be pop music, classical music, industrial music, whatever it may be, tend to be those pieces of music which are trying to encapsulate an idea, an object, like the moon, get you thinking about something. They tend to have more to them, because when people are creating it, they've got something in mind, and I think it channels and focuses and kind of brings more out. There's a lot of music, it's kind of also like music by numbers. It's just this chord follows this chord, and you're making up a tune, and it's kind of easy to do. But when you add something else to it, when you're trying to explore or explain or express in a different way, a whole different ballgame. And another picture which has the moon or the sun, more likely the moon. The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, David Bedford. Of course, this gets you contemplating the poem as you listen to it. This is narrated by Robert Powell, guitar by Mike Oldfield. But again, a great image to get you on your way, if you like, because you might read that poem and not really consider as the Virgin, the necessary kind of atmosphere or whatever. You can get some of it, but sometimes pictures like that give you even more. And what's interesting about this is, inside, someone has put an original Rime of the Ancient Mariner, available now on Virgin Records, from a music paper. It's interesting. So they give you a little bit of detail and whatnot here. So someone obviously was using that themselves when they were contemplating this, the same artist. So anyway, it may get you thinking, it may get you doing some sort of response video. I think I may do my own response video, responding to myself. Anyway, this is just some thoughts, just as I was just in one of those moods. Yeah, that's it. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you everyone for, putting up with my shenanigans. And this channel, I do wonder sometimes, I just knock all on the head. But at the same time, there's more than just music, and there's more, and you want to explore all the other aspects of your personality, and share these things. Anyway, that's it. I'll see you all soon.